have no idea.
It's something that people worry about.
I don't understand gluten enough.
What is it? I don't even really know.
I don't know a whole lot about it except that gluten-free is a good, healthy way to eat.
Is it some kind of starch maybe or something?
Carbohydrates.
Carbs.
Okay, so some of us, maybe many of us, are a little confused. Gluten has become synonymous with carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are terrifying things that definitely, absolutely should never cross our mouths. Lovely people, we've been misled. So, gluten, what is it? Gluten is not a carbohydrate. Gluten is actually protein. Really a complex mixture of hundreds of distinct proteins. And it's not just found in wheat. You'll also find gluten in barley, rye, even oats. However, there are plenty of grains that do not contain gluten, like corn, rice, millet, sorghum, buckwheat, and quinoa. Gluten is found in the seed, and that's what we're eating when we're eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Gluten proteins are storage proteins. Their purpose is to store nutrients like carbon and nitrogen to feed the future baby plant that will one day burst out of that seed. But of course, we're harvesting those seeds, those edible grains, before the baby plant has a chance to grow and consume those nutrient reserves. Let's look at wheat bread. Wheat seeds are harvested and ground into a powder, flour. That flour is mixed with water to make dough. As the flour soaks up the water, the gluten proteins are hydrated, and this is where the magic happens. That hydration causes the gluten proteins to bind together into a strong, stretchy web that will form the structure of the bread. When yeast is added to the dough, the yeast breaks down the starch and basically burps out carbon dioxide. Gluten is like a net, catching those carbon dioxide bubbles and causing the dough to rise, creating pockets of air within the bread that give it its deliciously light and chewy texture. There are all different kinds of wheat. Some inherently have more gluten protein than others. Now, bread bakers like higher protein flour because they get that good rise, while cake bakers like lower protein flour because they're not looking for a chewy texture, they're looking for tender. They don't want a lot of gluten creating super strong bonds that'll make their cakes tough and rubbery. Okay, so now we know the superpowers of gluten. It can act as a binding agent and add elasticity. Well, those superpowers can be used for both good and evil. Gluten has become a common additive in lots of highly processed foods because it improves texture and moisture retention. So, you might find gluten in strange places, like candies or ice cream or salad dressings where it's used as a thickener or emulsifier, even deli meats. If you ever see vital wheat gluten on an ingredient list, that means gluten that's been separated from wheat. It goes into a lot of packaged bread to give it a boost because it's been processed in a kind of forced hurry. Vital wheat gluten, by the way, is also used to make meat replacements like seitan, which makes sense if you think about the texture of meat with all its connective tissue. Then a strong web of gluten is a pretty good substitute. Scientists have noted an alarming increase in gluten intolerance here in the States, and they no longer believe it's simply a problem that's gone undiagnosed. The jury is still out on the causes, but there are scientists who are studying whether it's all the extra added gluten that we're putting in our processed foods. Gluten-sensitive people have a reaction to gluten, although scientists are still trying to figure out the triggers. The symptoms are clear. They include stomach aches, skin rashes, even life-threatening anaphylaxis. The most known disorder is celiac disease. It's hereditary, and it causes the body's own immune system to attack the intestines when gluten is around. About 1% of the US population is believed to have celiac disease. Some gluten-sensitive people find they can eat sourdough bread. I'm not talking about anything packaged that you buy in a store. I'm talking about real sourdough, made with wild yeast and allowed to ferment for a long time, sometimes even days, allowing the yeast time to break down most of the gluten before it even hits the digestive tract. So here's what I'm thinking about. Somewhere along the way, as our knowledge of very real gluten disorders has deepened, so has our broader suspicion of gluten. A lot of people have come to the conclusion that if gluten is bad for some of us, it must be bad for all of us, which is complete nonsense. But from that fear has risen an entire industry of gluten-free products. If you compare the ingredient list of a gluten-free bread that you buy in the supermarket versus a traditional wheat bread that's made of flour, water, yeast, and salt, the gluten-free list is vast and full of surprising ingredients that are only there to mimic the taste, the texture, even the nutrition of wheat. Things like cornstarch, soy protein, dextrose, modified cellulose. And so if you're not gluten sensitive, you have to ask yourself, why am I eating this stuff? Listen, thank God that gluten-free choices exist for all the people who do suffer from gluten. But if you don't, and you can find out by visiting your doctor, then you might want to reconsider how glorious gluten can be. For someone like me, who's been making my own sourdough for about 6 years, then gluten is nothing short of miraculous. Okay, let me know if you want me to make another one of these What Is It videos on a food or an ingredient that you've been wondering about. Drop a comment below and maybe we can make this into a series. What do you think? And if you'd like to help us hit our goal of delivering a video to you once a week, yes, True Food TV every week, then hit that link in the description immediately below this video. It says, become a True Food TV patron. You'll get exclusive behind the scenes videos and a virtual kiss from me.